UFC Fight Night from Jacksonville Part 2 is in the books. And yes, once again, I got my brother Shanksy in the house. What is up? Coming to us live from the Projector Dojo. We're going to talk about all of these fights. What an amazing weekend. What an amazing 8 days of fighting. We're going to get to all of that. And if you're ready for it, Shanksy, tell them what to do, brother.
Let's go smash it.
Alley flying.
What is up, Valley Maniacs? Valley Flying here. I am back. I am joined by my brother Shanksy. We are going to talk about what an amazing night of fights. I thought it was amazing. You like the prelims better? We're going to talk about all of it. Just before we get into that, overall, what do you think of these past 3 events from the UFC? Bringing us sports again, thank goodness.
Man, what an amazing week it's been. There were some phenomenal fights over the last week. And I've got to be honest, this week I'm a little bit sad that I've got to wait nearly like 3 weeks now for another card. I've been a little bit spoiled over the last week, I think.
They had a good streak. Before this quarantine, they had a good streak of every single week fight going down. Now it's a little crazy. We got 3 in a row, but now, yeah. Now we got to wait a little while. And it's unfortunate, but yes, what an amazing weekend it was. Let's go talk about some of these prelims because I wasn't as familiar with some of these prelims as you were. I watched a few of them, so I will chime in where I can. All right, but let's start with this one right here. Rodrigo, Ferreria, Don'Tale Mayes. Any words on this fight?
It was a heavyweight bout. Don'Tale Mayes didn't look all that great. They did go in there, threw some bombs. Ferreria could be one to keep an eye on. But to be honest, nothing too phenomenal coming out there. Ferreria pretty much bossed it in round 1 and ended up getting the sub in round 2. Nothing too crazy in that particular fight. It was an half-decent fight.
We'll have to keep an eye on Ferreria and see how he does. Courtney Casey, Mara, Borella.
This was a hell of a fight, man. Courtney Casey looked absolutely phenomenal. Looked super composed. Looked really good standing up, even better on the ground. I don't know how tough a fight Borella is, but Courtney Casey definitely done really well in this fight and dominated throughout.
You see her getting a ranking after this fight or still outside of that top 10?
Not after this fight. I think she's got to beat. You've got to beat someone with a number next to their name to get that number next to your name. So I don't think she'll get a ranking off the back of it. Maybe one more fight and then get someone inside the top 10. Could be the way forward for Courtney Casey. But she looked really good.
Yeah, I saw that finish at the end, but that's all I saw. It looked very tight. All right, this was crazy. Now, there was some good action in it, but the cuts, the blood all over this fight. Elkins was busted open. I can't remember the second round or the first round, but pretty early on as far as I remember it. But Landis just kept going after him. This was crazy. Both men pretty competitive, but just the blood, at least for me, kind of made it look like Landis was in favor most of the fight. But Elkins, very game, still throwing shots. What are your thoughts on this fight?
This was an absolutely awesome fight. This was a brawl in a phone box. Like, they didn't need most of the octagon. They were literally standing toe-to-toe, going at it. This was a phenomenal fight. Darren Elkins did get split open quite badly. I think it was in the first round. But one thing, some people just cut easy. You know, some people just cut super easy. Personally, I cut super easy. In sparring, I get opened up all the time. It's not that big a deal. It might look worse than what it actually is, but this dude lost a lot of blood that night, man. A lot of blood.
Now, how much do you think the loss of blood played into the effect? Because even though one fighter was bleeding a lot, this was a pretty competitive fight. Other than that cut, it was pretty competitive.
It was, but I still think Nate done more than enough to win the fight. But they were going at it. This definitely had huge fight of the night potential. It was a great fight.
Yeah, but like a lot of these fights on these past 3 cards, It would have in a lesser card, but a lot of good fights on this card. This was probably your favorite fight from what we were talking about before. Casey, Riviera. I didn't see it, so I'm going to defer to you.
This was phenomenal. So Erwin Riviera gets the call on a Thursday night saying, "Hey, are you in camp? Do you want to fight on Saturday?" His first fight ever in the octagon. Woo. And of course, he takes the call. He moves up a weight class, so he doesn't normally fight at this weight class. He's got a massive size difference in Giga Chikadze, who's I think about 1.5 feet taller. Ridiculous range on him in both hands and legs. But Riviera was game. Like, he was game. There were Superman punches. He was jumping over some of the kicks. He ate a knee to the face and literally come up swinging. You know, like when they go in for that takedown, he eats this big knee to the face. Chikadze goes to swarm on him. Riviera's like, "You don't ever swarm on me, mate." He jumps back up and he's just swinging back after eating a massive knee to the face. This was a brawl. There is no two ways about it. Chikadze won every single round, unfortunately. And I think the size difference was just too much to deal with.
Oh,
but
well, the size difference,
is game.
Short notice, first fight. I mean, there was a lot working against Rivera in this fight, but you know, I said I didn't watch it. It was on. I saw parts here and there, and I do remember that part, that knee, and then getting dropped right back up. Boom, 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 boom. So yeah, Erwin really game. Let's see. I'm curious to see how he does with a proper camp, with him in his proper weight class, and you know, now he's got some nerves. Now he's got a little fight experience under his belt. So curious to see how he will end up. Hernandez Holland, thoughts on this fight? Very quick fight.
It was such a brief fight. All I know is Kevin Holland looks so super comfortable walking down to that octagon. It was probably the most relaxed I've ever seen anyone looked. He just looked like he was there. So, and Hernandez didn't look like he really had a full camp to me either. He looked a little bit. I called this fight within about 3 seconds of seeing the fighters walking out. I was like, Holland's going to destroy this guy. And he did real quick.
It was very quick. All right, main event of the prelims. This was another crazy finish. Matt Brown, the immortal Matt Brown, Miguel Baez. I probably would have picked Matt Brown if you asked me before this, but Baez looked very good. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Oh, Matt the Immortal Brown is like one of my all-time favorite fighters. I just love this guy. But yeah, Miguel Baez looked absolutely phenomenal. They both landed good shots. Matt Brown caught him early in the first round, and I thought this fight was literally moments away from being stopped, and with the Matt Brown win. But Miguel composed himself, come back into this, started dominating towards the end of the first round, and then come out in the second round and caught Matt Brown with some big shots. And that was all she wrote.
Devastating. Big punch right there. Looking good. What do you think is on the table next for Matt Brown? He's a little up there in age. Kind of been a journeyman fighter throughout his career. Not really at that championship level, but very tough fight for anybody that fights him. Where do you see him after this fight?
If he doesn't decide to retire, and that, I think from what I could get the gist of, that's a possibility. But if he doesn't decide to retire, I think unfortunately Matt Brown is going to move down to that gatekeeping position where you get these young up-and-comers, they might come off tough or something like that, and he's going to be the gatekeeper to, let's prove your mettle, let's see what you've got, get past Matt Brown. But unfortunately, he's not going to get back inside the top 10. He's not going to get a ranking. He's probably not going to get a title shot. So I think he's just going to be a gatekeeper from here on out.
God, I think that's a very likely scenario. If like you said, he continues fighting, if he doesn't choose to retire. All right, main card. A lot of controversy in this card. I remember seeing your tweet about the judging. Let's just go forward fight by fight, because there's some fights I agree with, some I don't. Let's start with this one. Song Yadong, Marlon Vera. This one ended up in a decision for Yadong. How did you see this? How did you see this fight going? What are your thoughts on this fight?
Robbery. That's how I saw it. Robbery. I saw 3 judges steal a W off of Vera for no reason. Like, Vera dominated this fight. I don't understand what they were watching in this fight at all. Maybe you could make an argument for 1 round for Yadong, maybe. But this is 3 rounds. Like, it was robbery. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe it when they announced Yadong was winning it. I couldn't believe it. I still can't.
I was shocked as well. I think both of us ended up picking Yadong, but yeah, I saw Vera winning this fight handily, and his reaction when the announcement was made, very frustrated, as will be kind of a continuing theme as we get to this main card. But I also saw Vera winning. Both fighters looked like they came out to fight. I didn't see anything wrong from either fighter, but Vera looked like he had the advantage in the exchanges. Any other thoughts on this before we move to the Anders Jocko fight?
No, definitely. They were both game, man. They come out there to throw down. But Vera just looked like he landed so much more, so many more significant strikes. Got the takedown, but I don't understand where.
I would agree. I didn't see the fight stats, but it's so maybe the fight stats are misleading, but it seemed to me, just from the naked eye, someone watching this, Vera was landing more and landing the harder, crisper shots. Not sure what the judges were seeing in this fight, but yeah.
Yeah, it was
kind of a weird weekend. It kind of goes like that sometimes. All right, Anders Jocko. This one also went to decision. A lot of decisions in this main card. Anders, the former football player, starter for University of Alabama. Jocko looking very good. I'd say the power advantage, the athleticism went to Anders, but the technicality went to Jocko, and that was just too much. I don't think Anders was threatening a few times, but I don't think he was ever seriously putting Jocko in danger. But you could just see his power. If he ever landed with any of those hard shots, it would have been trouble. But yeah, he didn't really get anything super crisp, super clean. What are your thoughts on this Anders Jocko fight?
I thought Anders was going to come out the victor on this one, mainly because of his aggression, and he normally keeps on going forward until you swarm him a little bit and make him pay. And I didn't think Jocko had that type of power to stop Anders. So I thought Anders would eventually wear him down and get that knockout. Jocko was just a little bit too technical for Anders, in my opinion. Just a little bit too technical. Fought his fight, fought a really good fight. And again, not the Anders that I'm used to seeing, but hey, with the camps the way they are and everything like that, it's all up in the air, right? So I thought Jocko done really well, stuck to his game plan, and definitely deserved the win.
Your boy will be back.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
All right, this one. This was an awesome fight. I want to get your opinion on the judging. It's a lot closer than people are giving it credit for, though. I don't think this was a robbery. If at the end of the day, I thought Barboza won. I don't think it was that far off, though. You're shaking your head like it was a big clear win. Barboza. This is how I saw it. Barboza wins the first. Ige wins the third. Second round is the one in question. Ige was dominant for about 3 minutes. Barboza was dominant for about 2 minutes. Took him down. Had the position there. So the question is that second round. How do you score that fight? It's kind of how I'm seeing it. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Right, for me, Barboza bossed this fight. For me, Barboza.
Three rounds?
I think I do. Maybe 2. Well, definitely 2. Probably 3. So Barboza has the significant strikes, without a shadow of a doubt. He controls the takedowns, albeit very scrambling. Dan gets back very quickly and stuff like that. But Barboza is in control for 90% of this fight, in my opinion. I literally thought this was even more of a travesty of the Yadong fight. I thought this was terrible judging. Terrible.
Yeah, I thought it was a close fight. I thought Barboza should have got the win. I don't see it as a huge travesty because I thought Ige was landing some hard shots. He was landing some big shots. Didn't really look like Barboza was in trouble for many of those shots. I mean, I'm maybe forgetting a few here and there, but yeah, I saw it. Barboza really dominant in the first. The third, I guess you could question it, but I gave the slight edge to Ige. For me, it's that second round. How do you judge that second round? I thought that Barboza was a little bit more dominant, holding him on the ground, doing that damage with him on the ground towards that end of the second round. And then Ige was with the stand-up in the beginning part of the second round. So that's how I saw it. But I definitely could see either fighter winning. Ige got the decision on the judges' cards, but yeah, it's 2-1, depending which fight you favor. Which fighter you favor is how I saw this one.
I'm looking at the stats now. Now the stats are actually telling me a different fight to what I watched. Apparently, total strikes down Ige 100 out of 189, compared to Barboza's 87 out of 152. Significant strikes apparently go for Barboza by only 1. Now, apparently, Dan Ige got the only takedown, and Barboza had the knockdown.
Am I remembering? Did he pull guard in the second, or did he get knocked down? Is that why that won? Because I clearly remember the fight going to the ground in the second round. Barboza just dominating him. Am I remembering this wrong?
Dan Ige got knocked down, but I'm pretty sure there was a Barboza takedown as well.
Okay. Yeah, or maybe did Ige pull guard, or did Ige try to do a takedown and Barboza stopped him?
It could have been that. It could have been the takedown defense moving into it. But I thought Barboza, I thought he just looked so good at this weight. I really did. I thought he was super quick. And I just thought he looked so good. I couldn't believe it when they called Dan Ige's name at the end of it. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was questionable to me. To me, that big one in question was that second round. And he was winning for the first part of that round, and even Michael Bisping's like, oh, he's winning this round, and then immediately, boom, it's on the ground, and he just starts getting smashed. So I'm like, I don't know how you would score that one. I would give it to Barboza, even though I picked Ige, and I'm super biased because I'm from Hawaii rooting for Ige, but I thought Barboza did win that second round, so I would give him the fight. But I think it's a lot closer than a lot of people are thinking, but I don't know. Everybody has their opinion. Everyone has their opinions.
Yeah, I might watch it back tonight because honestly, I couldn't get my head around it at all. At the end of that fight, I couldn't get my head around it. I couldn't get my head around the Yadong fight. I couldn't get my head around the Barboza fight. And I was almost like, you do not want to leave any decision right now up to the judges. Because there's been some questionable ones over the last week.
This whole 3 cards, right? There's been some very weird decisions. It's a very weird stoppages. Some fights look like they could have been stopped. Talking about the main event there. And then other fights look like they could have went on longer. The Dominic Cruz fight from a couple weeks ago.
Well, here's a question for you, Valley. Do you think some of these fights I thought could have got stopped in different places, right? Do you think they let them go longer this time around as a result of the criticism from some of the early stoppages?
See, well, then you got that Anthony Smith fight thrown in there as well, right? Because Dominic Cruz is like, oh, I want the fight to go longer. You should have let it go longer. So they do for the Anthony Smith, and then people are criticizing, like, oh, you should have stopped it. You should have stopped it.
That's true.
I was not sure what to be expecting in this card because you've had heavy criticism both ways in the previous 2 events. So
that is true.
It was very weird. I wasn't sure what's gonna go, but yeah, there was definitely sometimes I thought, oh, this fight is gonna get stopped. This is gonna get stopped. This is gonna stop. And
the main event being the main one, right? The main event being the main one.
Definitely one of them. Possibly even the co-main event, which I think we're done with the Ige Barboza fight. But this fight I thought could have been stopped as well, but he let him keep going. Went to a decision. So Angela Hill, Claudia Gadelha. I think both of us picked Gadelha, but I don't know if that's how I would score it after I saw this fight. Let me get your opinion first, and I'll give you my opinion on this fight.
This one was super close. I really did. I thought this one was super close. It's such a tough one to score. At the end, I really wasn't sure who won it. Looking at the numbers, Angela Hill should have had it. I don't think this was a robbery, but I think this was a real close one. Looking at the numbers, Hill's landed more strikes, more significant strikes, got a knockdown.
So the knockdown came in the second. I would definitely give Hill that second round. Gadelha came out hard. I would give Gadelha the first round.
100%.
1-1 right there. Comes down to the third, and the third was super close. This is a very tough fight to score. And people are saying, oh, this is a robbery as well. Angela Hill very visibly upset after the decision was announced, but I think this could have went either way. For me, both of this fight, the Ige fight, Ige Barboza fight, and Gadelha Hill fight, both of it comes down to 1 round. Round 2 for the Ige Barboza fight, round 3 for this fight right here. So depends how you saw that third round going is who you think is going to be victorious. And even though I picked Gadelha, I thought Hill came out on top on that third round as well.
Yeah, and I think, but Hill came out on top towards the end of the third round. I think where Angela Hill's big strikes were starting to land was towards the very tail end. And I'm talking like the last 10 seconds, Angela Hill had her wobbled, if I'm not mistaken. And was it just a little bit too late? Did she need to up the pace earlier in that third round?
Possibly. Now here's the big thing in the scoring. That round 2, would you go as far as say that might have been a 10-8 round and give this thing a tie?
Oh, it's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Interesting fight.
It was such a dominant round for Hill, without a shadow of doubt. It was such a dominant round.
It was huge.
It's real possible, and it's only a tie if you give that third round to Claudio, and the third round was close, man.
I thought it was close as well. So yeah, both of these fights, I thought it could have went the other way, but I don't think either of these were huge robberies. I know Barboza's camp is tried to file an appeal, but couldn't because they said the only way in Florida you could file an appeal if they think Ige is cheating or if he thinks he's on PEDs, which was not the case. It was just the judge's decision that he didn't agree with. So It kind of is what it is. It kind of sucks when you leave it into the hands of judging, especially when you're not sure the criteria that a judge needs to be a judge.
Well, this is the thing. Now, we've talked about the fights that have happened, but what about this main event? So, Alistair Overeem versus Walt Harris. Now, let's forget about the actual result of the fight. How do you score that first round? Who won that first round by your scoring?
Scoring? It had to be Harris. Harris did. I thought it was Harris. I thought he could. I was thinking that this fight was going to get called. When he had him knocked down, he kept striking him. I think I didn't go back and watch and count, but I think he might have taken more damage than Dominic Cruz did in his previous fight that he's complaining about. Overeem did, and the ref, to his credit, let it go on, let the fight keep going. And gosh, this was a tough fight for me to watch because I'm a huge Overeem fan, but I wanted Harris to win, so I was like, oh, I'm not going to be happy either. Whoever wins, this is a bittersweet fight for me. But all right, how did you see that first round going?
Well, this is my thing, and I've actually been thinking about this quite a lot. This round in particular, out of all the fights, this particular round, the first round, Walt Harris comes out, lands a massive shot, ground and pound. Could have stopped the fight easily. If they had stopped the fight, no one would have questioned it.
I don't think even Overeem would have questioned it.
Exactly.
Because of all the shots he took.
Exactly. He's eating big shots on the ground. If they stop it there, everyone walks away happy apart from Overeem. Yeah. But the Harris fairy tale type comes true because my heart was broken for him at the end of that. My heart was actually broken for him.
I mean, big shout out to Overeem that gave him a big hug. Didn't show any disrespect. 100%. You know, the announcers, Dana was like, "Oh, I'm super proud of you for stepping in there." Nothing wrong with what he did. I mean,
no,
everybody wanted the Cinderella story. He goes away with a win.
Yeah, it's that Cinderella story. My heart was just broken for him. But so that's the start of the first round. Then they end up getting back to their feet. Overeem regains his faculties. They get back to their feet. Harris senses a bit of blood in the water, comes charging across and comes in with like a flying high teep or something like that. Misses and slips. Now Overeem's all over him. Now Walt Harris is getting beat up on the ground. He's getting flattened out. He's getting beat up. Again, could have been stopped. How much longer was Walt Harris on the receiving end of the ground and pound? And I think it was a little bit than Overeem was in the start of the round. I think that was a nigh on impossible round to score.
The first round.
Yeah, like, nigh on impossible to score. Don't get me wrong. Moving on to the second round, it should have been stopped. Like he was flattened out. He was flattened out. Overeem's on his back, and he's just smashing the life out of him. Stop it! You're not going to be able to come back from that with Overeem on top of you. I don't even think he was trying to progress the position. He was flattened out. That's such a tough spot to come back from.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I do jiu-jitsu, they call that the worst position ever because that's the worst position you could ever be in a real fight. You have your head facing away from the opponent. They could just land shots on you. They're in a dominant position, can control you. That's like the worst place ever. And the ref was even saying, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop. You got to do something. You hear him talking because there's no crowd. You're like, you got to do something. Harris is just in a bad position. Overeem, my goodness, the K1 champion. Look at the control this guy has on the ground. I was a little bit surprised at that, how well he was able to control Harris. But back to round one, though. In my opinion, Harris almost finished Overeem. I think just for that alone, he gets the round. But here's
Overeem nearly finished Harris.
I'm sorry?
But Overeem nearly finished Harris as well. They both could have been stopped in the first round.
Oh, you're saying first? Okay. I got you. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the old adage, you know, how do you finish the round? How do you finish a fight? You know, because if this was a real street fight, the person at the advantage towards the end would have a real advantage in the streets. So how much do you weigh the end of the round versus the damage in the beginning of the round? Because that's damage that they took, but they've weathered the storm. They got through that, as opposed to someone to end that potentially gets saved by the bell or something like that. So I can't see the argument the other way, but yeah, it's Overeem. That's what he does. He's tricky.
I genuinely think Overeem won that first round. Like and I've been thinking about it tons, but I think Overeem may have won that first round if it had gone to the judges' scoring. Just with the amount of damage that he put out at the end, like the weight that he put down on Harris. Harris was gassed.
You think he blew his wad just trying to finish Overeem at the very start?
100%. He put a lot into that. Now I think if he had caught Overeem again, it would have been a different kettle of fish. But I think where he actually blew his load was with that ground and pound the other way round, by trying to defend himself and carry Overeem's weight and try and get back to his feet. That's where he was banging trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he's an accomplished kickboxer. Now he's training up in Colorado. He knows how to distribute his weight. He knows how to make the other person carry his weight. He's getting better at that. I mean, yeah, it's a rough when you don't really have an advantage on the ground or on the feet. You know, it's tough. And I was rooting for him. I wanted him to win. Where do you see these fighters going after this?
Overeem's putting a bit of a charge together. I think if he Overeem could. I know he's talking about he wants that new belt. He wants that new design belt and everything like that.
And heavyweight is an older division, right?
It is. I reckon if he can get I reckon he gets a top 10 guy now.
You think?
I reckon he's got to get a top 10
Harris,
guy.
I think, was 9, Overeem was 8. So
yeah.
Maybe a top 5 for Overeem. If he wins that, then give him the winner of Stipe and DC or John Jones or whatever. And Ngannou.
I think this is the fight to make. I think this is the fight to make right now. Is you go Overeem, someone else in the top 5. I think Ngannou's got to get the title shot next.
Give him a rematch with Rosenstrike.
Yeah, rematch with Rosenstrike.
Because he was winning that whole fight up until that one punch in the end.
I'm trying to think who else is in the top 10 right now. Like, top 5, sorry, top 5. Who else is in the top 5?
All right, so men's heavyweight right now, Stipe is the champion. Cormier is number 1, and Ngannou is number 2. Blades, that would be an interesting matchup for Overeem. Dos Santos is number 4, and Lewis is number 5. I think all of those, with the exception of Stipe, Cormier, and Ngannou, would be an interesting fight for Overeem. Blades, Dos Santos, and Lewis. I mean, even that match with Rosenstrike that we talked about.
Yeah,
that rematch.
I think Dos Santos.
Dos Santos would be cool. Both of them a little older.
Yeah, give him Dos Santos, and if he can win that, he's got to wait out to see what happens with Ngannou, because I think he deserves that title shot now. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, Ngannou or Cormier get that rubber match. They both won one each, so see what happens with that. I know Stipe's not fighting for a little while though, but so I don't know what will happen with Cormier. I don't know what happens with Ngannou. What about Walt Harris? Right now he is 9. Here are the people around him. We got Rosenstrike, Volkov, Overeem just fought. Olenek is coming off a win.
Olenek would be a good fight. Or Rosenstrike would be a good fight for Harris, I think. I think Rosenstrike would probably be the fight that he wants as well.
I think that
gets himself up that ladder, and I think he's got the kit to put Rosenstrike away as well. So I think for Walt Harris, Rosenstrike would be a really, really solid pick for him. And as far as what happens for the Reem now, I feel like Blades or Dos Santos would make a great deal of sense. And
I like Blaze Dos Santos. I like Lewis too, actually. You know, he's not as high as the other people, but I like a Lewis Overeem fight. That could be interesting.
I would tune in at any time Lewis fights. I absolutely love Lewis. I think he's phenomenal. But no, I think Blades or Dos Santos makes the most sense. And then, to be fair, Stipe's not going to be fighting for a little while. So what we're probably going to have happen at the moment is an interim belt where Cormier and Ngannou have to fight for that.
If you're Cormier, and potentially your last fight, you risk it against someone like Ngannou, or do you wait for Stipe to be ready?
Does the UFC wait for you?
I mean, with someone like Cormier, they'll wait. Someone brand new, they might not. But Cormier, I think he has enough juice. He could say, hey, I want to wait for Stipe. I think he can if he wants to.
Then what they'll end up, I don't know, because they'll end up putting a belt. They'll end up putting an interim in. They love putting an interim belt in.
Ngannou Blades, maybe.
For the interim?
For an interim.
But then if that happens, then you've got to give the interim winner the first shot at Stipe.
So Cormier fights Stipe, Ngannou fights Blades, and the winner of that goes after winner of DC Stipe?
Yep.
That could work. Blades Ngannou. Blades hasn't fought for a while. Ngannou, I think he doesn't need that much time off after the Rosenstrike fight. So
well,
20 seconds, right? 20 seconds. So that could work for an interim title. Then whenever Stipe is ready, he can start training again. You get the winner.
The trouble is, if you put an interim on the line, you've got to have the number one contender fight for the interim. You've got to, otherwise you can't have an interim. Because what will happen if you have the interim title, you win that interim, and then someone else gets a title shot at the real one before you do, just can't happen.
Yeah, it's weird. This whole quarantine is making things weird, man. People aren't able to train, not able to see the fights we want because people can't train. This is just weird right now. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But those are some options. Those are some things that these guys can do.
It's good problems to have, right? If you're matchmaking the heavyweight division at the moment, these are nice problems to have because they and I've got some good fights there without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, this would be a good one. All right, well, a lot of interesting matchups that they could go from here. I'm curious to see what the UFC is going to do, and it looks like we got a lot of time to talk about it. Next week, are we doing this live?
We will certainly try. We will certainly try. I think our time zones are a little bit chaotic. But we will certainly do our best.
Yes, we got a lot of time zones between us, so hopefully we can make it work. But yes, I think there'll be a lot to talk about next week, even though there's no fights or no fight wrap-ups. I think just with all the drama, all the trash talking between these fighters, I think there should be something interesting to talk about. So we will see what happens. I guess Amanda Nunes looks like she is fighting in the next card. Felicia Spencer. Should be interesting. They don't have the rest of the card finalized, but that should be either main or co-main. So 3 weeks.
It's going to be a long 3 weeks.
I know. After we got spoiled with 3 fights in about a week, we now have to go nothing for a while. Shanksy, always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you for having me as always.
Let everybody know where they can find you, my brother. Do some self-promotion, baby.
Sounds like a plan. You can find me over at Twitch, which is www.twitch.tv/Shanksy, or on YouTube. The links will be down below. I look forward to catching up with you.
Sweet, brother. I look forward to catching up with you next week as well. That is it for this time, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Check out this channel, subscribe, like, smash that notification bell, guys. And check out my main channel as well for some Marvel Strike Force, some fun stuff that I do on there. And I will see you guys next time. Before you go, make sure you guys check me out on social media. Check out some of the links down below. And give me a Hulk fist bump until next time, brother. Valley Flying out.